good weekend, and we are gathered once again today. And as we gather on every fourth Saturday, today we have a great speaker with us, and I'll be introducing to you him. My name is Sheldon, and I'll be hosting the meeting today. We have George Cherian today with us, who has pursued a professional career after his engineering. His career-oriented life took him to challenging jobs and different countries. He is the founder of Missions India. His father, Mr. late K.V. Cherian, was a great revival speaker in Kerala, who started the movement called Nava Jiva Yodhana Dayam. So I welcome Mr. George Cherian to take away the session with his beautiful words. Thank you.
Sheldon, do you want to wait for some time? And I think with that password issue, I think there are some people who might come a little late. Do you want to give it some time before
Yes,
we
we can
start?
definitely.
Maybe is that okay with you, Cherry?
Yeah, I'm
That we
fine.
can wait for another.
Absolutely
Okay,
fine.
all right.
No problem.
All right, so let's wait for 5 minutes because I think that password will cause a lot of heart trouble for people joining. They need to sort of get that. So let's wait for 5 minutes. We'll start in 5. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
okay,
you.
sir. Good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for your patience. So we would want to apologize for the error from our end. We are glad to say that uh, the founder of Missions India is Mr. George Cherian's father. That's Mr. late KV Cherian. Thank you so much for your patience, sir, and over to you.
All right. So thank you, Sheldon, for the introduction. And I'm really honored to be with you this evening. The next couple of minutes, I would like to share with you on how to use 24 hours, which is common to all of us. And I hope it would be a blessing for each one of us. And so the title that has been given to me is Doing Much with the Same 24 Hours. And wherever you are right now, can you switch off the coming in and going on out gong, because that is every time someone joins or leaves, that sound is coming. So there is a setting by which you can turn that off. If you could
Yes,
turn that off,
done.
it would be great. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Okay. So before I start with the presentation, let me just show you a couple of things on how valuable time is. If you want to know the value of 1 year, just ask a student who failed a course. Right? That's something that we can understand if you want to understand the value of 1 year. If you want to know the value of 1 month, ask a mother who gave birth to a premature baby, and she'll tell you how valuable 1 month is. If you want to understand the value of 1 hour, ask the lovers waiting to meet. I don't know how many of you have gone through what that is, but if you've experienced what it means to wait for the person whom you love, 1 hour can be like a lifetime of waiting. And if you want to know the value of 1 minute, ask the person who just missed the bus, and he will tell you the value of 1 minute. And if you want to know the value of 1 second, ask the person who just escaped death in a car accident. And some of us have those near death experiences, and we know the value of 1 second. Now, if you want to know the value of 1/100th of a second, ask the athlete who won a silver medal in Olympics, and he will tell you the value of 1/100th of a second. Why am I saying all of this? The only reason I'm saying all of this is time is precious. It's very valuable. Some people have said that 2020 is a year where we need to write it off, but I want to tell you that 2020 is a year of opportunity if you and I would just be bothered enough to utilize our time in the best possible manner. The next couple of minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through a couple of topics. This is a presentation that spans for 2 hours, so I'll cut a couple of slides through it and quickly run you in the next 30 to 35 minutes on few of the important key slides that I would like to share with you. I would like to start off by talking about God and time. And I would like for us to assess how we are spending time right now. And how do we get more time? All of us, at least many of us, complain about not having enough time. Some of us while away our time, but definitely there are people who say, I would like to have more time. And how can I use the time more efficiently? So these are my 4 topics for today, and I want to quickly run you through them all. You know, if you ask me, God is a God who's not confined by time. Okay, He exists out of time. He doesn't have 24 hours. He doesn't have 60 minutes. He doesn't have seconds. He is eternal. He was there yesterday. He was there 2000 years ago. He was there a zillion years ago. And he will be there another million years from now on. He is not contained by time or space. And yet, he is the one who created time. And that's why you and I have time. We are time bound beings, right? So we tell each other, we will meet tomorrow. Or you would tell your friend, how about yesterday? Yesterday was a great day, because for us there was a yesterday. There was 3 years back. There was a time that we were born. There's a time that we're going to die, and we are bound between these two brackets of time. And yet God doesn't exist within time. Okay, so that's something that I want to share with you. But let me tell you, the most important of all possessions that God has given man is time. And this is what we don't understand. We always wish, even as young people, many of you would think and say, hey, I wish I was brought up in a family like my friend. I wish I was brought up in a family by a father by like Ashik's father. Or you would say, I wish I had the family background of Supriya. Or I wish I had the money that Mr. David had. And you might have all these kind of things, and you might say, see, he's got more talent, he's got more money, he's got more facilities, he's got a better house, he's got a better home, he gets to go to better tuitions. But let me tell you, there is one thing which is common for all of us, and that's time. You can never look at another person and say, hey, you've got more time. Or I cannot look at you and say, you've got more time. We all are bound by one common denominator, and that is 24 hours. And I hope we understand what that is. All right. We are bound by this 24 hours, and this is the most valuable possession. So I want to start my session by a verse from the Bible. In Ephesians 5, it says, pay careful attention then to how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise. And then it says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. We're living in tough times. We're living in difficult times. But how should we live? We should live wisely, and we need to redeem our time. A lot of people talk about time management, right? I need to manage time. So if I tell you, hey, come on, go and manage your time. Manage time is not an employee that you can go and manage tomorrow. You can't say, hey, time, I want you to do this. Why don't you take a pause for 30 minutes while I take a snooze? Or why don't you take a pause when I watch this Netflix thing? It doesn't work that way. There is no concept of managing your time. There is only one concept of managing yourself. So whenever you talk about managing time cannot be managed. It will keep ticking. Every second will keep ticking. Every millisecond will keep ticking. By the time the session is over, we would 1 hour would have gotten over. There is nothing called managing that 1 hour. The only thing I can do is manage myself as to what I can do in that 1 hour. You have no control over time, but you have control over yourself. And that's what I want to focus on the session for today. And I want to just ask you to do a quick exercise. We don't have time, I know that, but I want to quickly let you know that this is something I want you to do quickly. So scan through this and you can do this exercise after we finish the session or before you go to bed or tomorrow morning. First, I want you to do this. How much time do you spend on internet and TV every single day? Okay, be honest with yourself. Look at your screen time and you will know how much time you spend on television. Anything to do with your screen apart from your studies on screen or anything of that, just write down the amount of time every day that you spend in front of the TV or in front of the internet, and multiply that by 7 and you'll get your weekly total. And I want you to do that for every single other exercise. How much time do you spend at work? Work means productive work, not chatting with your friends or having coffee or those breaks that you have in between. Just how much of time do you spend really working? How much of time do you spend at your university really studying? How much of time do you spend socializing with your friends? How much of time are you spending with your family? How much of time are you working out? Of course, there's a lot of challenges going on now, especially fitness challenge, and I hope even I took one of those fitness challenges, and I hope that I'm losing a little bit of weight at least. If you're working out, how much of time are you working out every? How much time are you spending reading, if at all you read? Nowadays, young people don't read at all, right? How much time do you spend sleeping? Okay, some might say that yeah, we are forever sleeping. Even while you're talking, we are sleeping. But how much time do you really sleep during the night? How much of time do you spend preparing food and eating? And how much of time do you spend on social media? Okay, and anything else that you spend on. And I want you to do this exercise today, all right, and write it down before you sleep and decide how much of time are you spending for the week and multiply it by 7 so you know that through the week this is the number of hours I spend on these categories. Once you do that, I want you to go to the next thing and say, okay, I want to add all of that up and I know how much of time I'm spending on during the week, and subtract it from the total weekly hour, which is 168 hours, and you know how much of time is remaining that you have. Okay, how much time you have with you. Okay, and I want you to make note of two things. First of all, which is your biggest time waster in this exercise? Okay, once you do that exercise, you need to decide which is your biggest time waster. Only you can decide that. You need to spend time and figure out what is your biggest time waster. I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 would come back to me and say my biggest time waster is social media. No doubt about it. 9 out of 10. And I'm not talking about just young people, I'm talking about even older folk. Most of their time they spend on social media. So we all know that 9 out of 10 people are going to have this problem saying, I'm spending a lot of time and wasting a lot of time on social media. Take a note of how many hours you're spending on it. Your screen won't lie. You can look at your iPhone or an Android phone and it'll tell you exactly how much time you're spending on social media. Take a note of it, write it down, be honest with yourself, and take a note of how much time you're spending in front of the television or screen or YouTube or Netflix or whatever it is. Take a note of it, and I want you to put the number of hours on a piece of paper. All right. So, this exercise I would like for you to do once we do the meeting, and please go through it. Now, now that we've done this assessment of how much time we have, you might say, okay, at the end of the week, I have only 10 hours to spare. Okay. Now, the next question is, how do I increase or make more time? Is it practically possible to make more time? Not possible. You and I have 24 hours. It's not that just because I've got more things to do, I cannot decide, hey, tomorrow onwards, I'm going to have 36 hours. I can't decide. You can't decide. You have no control. You might be even the richest man in Asia. You might be Mr. Ambani himself, but he cannot decide that he's going to have 36 hours tomorrow. He and us, both of us, are on the same common denominator when it comes to our time. Okay. And that is something which is a neutralizer. And I want you to know this. Why? Because you are responsible. Don't blame anybody else. You are responsible. I am responsible for the time that I have. And once I understand where I'm spending my time, I want to optimize my time. How do I make more time in that sense for productive work? First thing, optimize sleep. Optimize sleep. Okay. All right. So tonight, after this is over, early morning 4:30, I leave. I drive from here to Bangalore. Okay. Now my question is, 4:30 is not a time that I usually wake up. All right. But tomorrow, if it's I have to travel to Bangalore, there is no other way but to get up at 4:30, which means it is possible. It is only a matter of if I want to do it or not. So you can't just say, hey, you know what? I just can't wake up at 4. You can. We all can. The only issue is, do I want to wake up or do I really want it that bad? I want you to understand something. Hit sleep cycles of 1.5 hours. Okay. So, for example, if every 1.5 hours there are these sleep cycles, okay, so the 1.5 hours, 3 hours, 4.5 hours, 6 hours. So, when you look at all of this, I want you to understand this. Now, if you are saying I'm going to sleep for 6 hours, and when the alarm goes at 6 a.m. in the morning, okay, or 7 a.m. in the morning, the first thing that you do is press the snooze button. Okay, and most of you have your phone and you will press the snooze button. Why do you press the snooze button? Because you want to sleep for another 10 minutes, right? That's why you put the snooze button. How many times do you press the snooze button after that? Do you stop at 1 or do you stop at 4? But the point is, if you've trained your body, you will realize that every 1.5 hours is when the sleep cycle stops. So 6 a.m., if you're supposed to wake up, if you sleep for a 15 minutes, it is very unlikely that you will wake up only at 7:30, because that is how the sleep cycle works. You need to understand your body and tell yourself, I want to be very regular at what time I sleep and what time I wake up. Let me tell you, this will solve 50% of your life's problem. If young people can sleep on time and wake up at the same time regularly, this is something that you and I need to work on, because this is one of the biggest areas where we can make more time. All right. The early bird catches its prey. It's very, very clear. I'm not saying that you have to wake up early or 5:30 or 4:30. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying be very systematic as to when you sleep and when you wake up, and plan your sleep cycles. That is when you get more. Now just imagine, a lot of people say, you know what, I get very tired if I wake up early. No problem. In the afternoon, take a 10-minute nap. When I travel to countries, countries like China and all those, Korea and all those countries, every productive workforce, every country, big company, they might have a snooze time of maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and it's called a power nap, and immediately they get their energy back. So you can do that. You can just lie at your desk for 10-15 minutes. Don't say, okay, the moment I sleep, I'm going to sleep for the next 3 hours. Don't do that, because then your day is gone. All right. But be very productive, be very deliberate about the time that you spend sleeping, so that you get more time. Second point is reclaim dead time. Reclaim dead time. How do you reclaim dead time? Now, what is dead time? I'll give you an explanation. Now, in the COVID situation, it's different. But dead time is a time that you cannot eliminate, but it cannot be spent on any productive activity. What do I mean? Now, tomorrow I get up at 4:30 and I get into my car at 5 a.m. and I drive for the next 12 hours. That is dead time. but I need to travel. There is no way I can do without it. I have to get into the car and I need to travel for 12 hours. Now, how do I redeem those 12 hours is the question. Okay, there are many ways in which I can redeem those 12 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking along with me a young person. Okay, and I told him, Joel, I want you to come with me. What am I going to do? I'm going to talk to him for the next 12 hours. I'm going to mentor him. I'm going to teach him stuff. I'm going to show him what life is. I'm going to ask him to watch me as I treat my customers. I'm going to ask him to watch me as I react to situations. And what am I going to do? I am reclaiming the 12 hours to teach someone else who's not traveled the way I've traveled before. Now, this is reclaiming that time. At the same time, if I don't have a co-passenger, if you're on your Bombay local train, right, it can be difficult. Decide the day before which podcast you will listen to. Don't just go to any Bollywood song and waste your time, just listening to anything that comes on YouTube or any of the hottest hits. Of course, you can do that, but I'm saying that is not the best way to utilize your time. But what you can do is plan the podcast the day before and put it on your playlist, and when you're in your Uber, when you're in your local train, listen to it so that you're motivated to do the right thing. And that's how you build and reclaim that time. If you're running, if you're walking, if you're exercising, put something in your ears that will edify you, that will make you a better person, that will motivate you so that you can reclaim that time. This is how you utilize that time. Look at the opportunities during the day that you spend time on these kind of activities. And people like me, we spend a lot of time traveling. How can we utilize this dead time? It can be your best time if you can reclaim it. Okay, so the second thing I'm trying to share with you is reclaiming dead time. Read a book while you're traveling on the train. It's a brilliant experience. Don't keep watching and staring at your phone. Pick up a good book. Ask your friend which is the best novel as far as literature is concerned. Ask a friend which is the book that impacted him the most. Read it while you travel. You will be a better person at the end of the day. Third, set goals. Okay, we all know this. I don't have to talk about it much. But very importantly, if I ask you, what is your goal for tomorrow? Okay, what's your goal for tomorrow? I can guarantee you most of us will say we don't know. In the morning, we'll just get onto the Zoom and we'll get to our classes and we'll go for whatever. And whatever hits us during the day, we're just going to take it. The point is, if you're not deliberate about what you're going to do for tomorrow, I can guarantee you will just go with the flow. Yeah, we all love it, right? We just love to go with the flow. The problem is, if you go with the flow, others will take you for the ride of their lives because they will take you to the place that they want you to go. You cannot go where you're supposed to go. So set goals. Today itself, set your goals for tomorrow. Okay? Nothing happens by accident. You are responsible for making it happen. Allocate your time in such a way that it will align with your long term goals, but have those 2 or 3 goals for the day written down specific. Don't go to sleep without having your 3 to 5 goals for the next day. Make it short, make it crisp, define it clearly, and say that tomorrow, okay, I have my goals for the month, I have my goals for the year, I have my goals for the quarter. But what is my goal for tomorrow that will help me achieve my goals for the year? And write it down, be deliberate about it. And the third exercise is to set goals. Now, the fourth exercise is a very simple principle. It's called the Pareto Principle. For those of you who are management graduates, you know what Pareto Principle is. Okay. If you don't know what Pareto Principle is, if you're a school goer, I will tell you what a Pareto Principle. It's a phenomenal principle that you can use in any area of your life. Okay, any area. Even when I do guest lecturing for MBA students, I teach them on the significance of the Pareto Principle. Okay, what is the Pareto Principle? Pareto Principle is very, very simple. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Okay, now it might be sounding confusing, but 80% of your effort results come from 20% of your efforts. The 80% of your greatest success is going to come from the 20% of what you are putting in. I'll give you a similar example so that you understand. In my hand is an iPhone. Okay, in my hand is an iPhone. Who makes iPhones? The company that makes iPhones is called Apple, right? Now, when Steve Jobs, who's the guy who started Apple, he was fired out of his own company and then he came back and joined the company. When he came back and joined Apple, you know how many products? Let me ask you, how many products does Apple make right now? They make the iPhone, they make the iPad, they make the iWatch. Then what else do they make? They make the iPad, they make the iTunes software, they make what else? They make the MacBook Pros, they make the MacBook Airs, then they make the Mac Pros, and they make all those items. But if you look at the categories, the number of categories that Apple makes are only 6 to 7. That's all they make. All right, that's the number of categories. When Steve Jobs joined the company, Apple had hundreds and thousands of SKUs in their portfolio. The first thing he did is he cut all of them down and focused on just few products. And for your information, I'll tell you, for your information, it's one of the most valuable companies in the world, right? Most valuable companies in the world. Okay, you have in India, we have a very, very prestigious company. It's called Reliance. They make everything, right, from oil to, I mean, just name it. They've got everything, and now they've even put their stake in the future retail business, right? So they are into every place. But let me tell you, the one product that makes Apple 80% of their sales comes from this simple device. This is what makes Apple precious. This one device that's in my hand. Can you believe it? It's not a huge oil rig. It's not a massive airport. It's just this one simple device. Steve Jobs' mantra: 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. What am I trying to tell you? I'll tell you, things that matter in life for you and me is going to come from the 20% of the time and effort that we put right now. You think I'm going to do all these things, I'm going to hang out with friends, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go out, and I'm going to play cricket. 80% is going to come from the 20% that you're spending right now. Identify what is that 20% and increase that by. Spend all your efforts on that 20%, and you will realize, like Apple, it will become a much more valuable. Your life will become much more valuable instead of spreading things. You can use the Pareto principle in any area of your life. Trust me, in any area of your life, and it will work wonders. It will work wonders. Always ask yourself, where am I spending the maximum amount of time? Where am I getting the best of my results? And there will be a huge mismatch. You might be saying, I'm spending so much of time, I'm very busy. But even ants are busy, right? Everybody's busy. But what am I trying to achieve? The 20% of my time that I'm spending is going to give me 80% of my results. So identify what is going to give you your maximum success and follow the 80-20 rule. It's very important in product management. It's important in time management. It's important in business strategy, the 80-20 principles. So if there is only one thing you should do, decide what that one thing should be. What is that one thing I should do? So have 2 to 3 priorities for the day. Don't try to do everything that comes your way. Follow the Pareto principle, and it'll help you in every area of your life. Okay. Create a morning ritual, simple stuff. When you wake up, I mean, this is my morning ritual. I just wrote it down. I drink 2 big glasses of water, spend time with God. I exercise, and I plan for the day. This is my morning ritual. Come what may, wake up in the morning, immediately don't go and check your phone. Don't go and see how many Instagram likes you got or how many people watched your TikTok video. That's not your objective in life. Okay. When you wake up, have a morning ritual. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm going to drink my 500 ml of water. That's for me. I'm going to spend time with my God, and I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to plan for my day. This is your morning ritual. You can write your own morning ritual, but stick to it so that something else doesn't come and invade your time, right? So you're specific when you wake up in the morning. I'm going to give you, I talked about I'm sorry, I'm going super speed, because we have to manage the time for today, right? So quickly, Pareto principle. I want you to keep another very important principle, especially during COVID times, that will help you. It's called the Pomodoro Technique. Okay, the Pomodoro Technique. What is the Pomodoro Technique? It's a very simple technique. Okay. Don't get very scared about all these names. What it means is very simple. Sometimes the names may scare you, but what it actually means is very simple. Okay. Now, Pomodoro means you have to work in bursts of 25. Okay. Put a timer. Okay. Anyway, you're taking the phone everywhere you go, right? You're spending so much of time. Have you ever used the function called the timer on your phone? You've used every app possible, right? Have you ever used the timer on your phone? Go to your timer, set the timer for 25 minutes. If possible, keep your phone on airplane mode. Your timer will still work. Okay, everything else might stop, but your timer will still work. Put your phone on airplane mode. 25 minutes. Focus on one task. So if you say, hey, I've got this one math assignment that I need to do. If you're working, I need to finish writing a drafting a letter to this particular customer. 25 minutes, work on that, just that one thing. Don't think of anything else. Don't check your phone. Don't pick up phones. Don't do anything. And after 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Okay. And if you would do this, I will tell you, whatever you're doing in one day, you will finish in half a day. One day's work will get over in half a day. Why do we why do we think we can do so many things? We think we are multitaskers. I mean, my wife thinks I'm the world's biggest multitasker, right? That's what my wife credits me for. But I can tell you, nobody is good enough a multitasker to do every job well. It's not possible. But what do we do? While writing a mail, we will check television. And while we're checking television, we'll be checking the Facebook post. And while we are checking the Facebook post, your productivity is just going down the drain every time you do that. So what are you supposed to do? Follow the Pomodoro technique. Tomorrow, try it. I can guarantee you. Write your 3 tasks. For every task, assign 25 minutes burst. If it's a big task, say 25 minutes, 5-minute break, another 25 minutes. You will finish your work much faster, and it will be much more effective if you would go at that pace. What's the next technique? What's the next technique? Very simple technique. It's called NO. NO. Okay? NO. Young people, you need to learn what this is. The power of NO. Okay? This is a very powerful word, right? We always say, oh, no negativity. But let me say yes to the word no. Say yes to the word no. Learn to say no. I'll tell you what's going to define you and the person who's sitting next to you, or the next window on Zoom. You know what's going to differentiate? It's your power to say no. Young people need to learn what it means to say no. Okay? You cannot say yes to every single thing that comes your way. That's why the quote says you have to say no to a lot of good things in order to be able to say yes to a lot of greater things. You're not saying no to just the bad things in life. You're saying no to even the good things, the mediocre things. Why? Because you are called to live on a higher standard, to say yes to a whole lot of greater things. But if you keep on saying yes to every good thing that comes your way, you have no time for the greater things. Learn to say no. Your ability to say no will decide your ability to say yes. At the end of the day, when the greatest thing comes in front of you, you have no time to say yes to it because you've already consumed your time. You know what is the opposite of great? Okay, what's the opposite of good? Some people think the opposite of good is bad. The opposite of good is great. It's always great. Why? Because what stops you from reaching the great is the good. Isn't it good to have fun with your friends? It's good. Isn't it good to check your social media every now and then? It might be. Isn't it good to hang out with friends? Isn't it good to go for a movie together? It's all good. But if you keep on saying good to yes to all these good things, when the great opportunities in life come to you, you will not have no energy to say yes to it. So your ability to say no will decide your ability to say yes to greater things. And that's extremely important. Learn to say no. Keep the end in mind. You can't say yes to everything. Hey, why don't we watch a movie today? Oh, yes. Why don't we go and hang out together? Oh, yes. Why don't we do this? If you keep on saying yes, at the end of the day, you'll come and say, hey, where did my 24 hours vanish? You can't do that. You can't keep on picking up every phone call and speaking for half an hour. You're going to waste your time. Learn to say no so that you can say yes to greater things. And like I said, you create a morning ritual. I would encourage all of you to create a night ritual. What is a night ritual? Can you decide not to look at your phone for 1 hour before you go to bed? Some of us, we sleep off as if and our phones fall on our faces because we've been looking at this the whole day and finally the phone is on our face while we sleep. It's called the Amish hour. Amish hour means what? No cell phone, no laptop, no electronic items, no TV. It is just saying no. 1 hour before you sleep. Hey, let me tell you, the world is not going to stop spinning just because you don't check your phone in the night. All right? Nothing is going. Sometimes we look at the phone as if, Mr. Modi is waiting to talk to us, right? As if, I don't want to miss a phone call of our prime minister. Nothing is going to change. You leave your phone on silent, you put it on mute, you put it on airplane, you go to sleep. Nothing is going to happen. The Amish hour. Practice the Amish hour. 1 hour before you sleep, nothing. It will affect your quality of sleep. You will be able to sleep on time. Many times you sleep at 10 p.m. and you're not able to sleep. You know why? Because you spend almost 1.5 hours on the phone and you're trying to sleep now. Your mind is so alert and active. The blue screen effect, it reduces your sleeping pattern. In fact, it induces insomnia, which is a big problem in so many lives. Don't look at the phone 1 hour before you sleep. Spend time with God. Evaluate your day. How did my day go? I had these three goals that I had set in mind. What happened to those three goals? Did I just chit chat and waste my time posting on Instagram, or was I really able to do those three goals and plan for next day? Right? So have a night ritual. It'll and these night rituals, see, it's just a matter of 1 hour, right? And it adds so much of value to you. Let me tell you, this is how a decent, I mean, you can decide how your graph should look like, okay? But let me just draw this graph. You did your assessment, all right? So after you do your assessment, this is how it should kind of look. It should kind of look, okay? Depending on if you're an athlete, it would change. If you're a professional, it would change. But this is how it should you look per week. Every week, 8 hours time with God, with your creator. 45 hours work or study or whatever you're doing, and that should be 45 hours. Okay, it should not be okay, I'm working, I'm at work, but I'm doing something else. 77 hours of sleeping and eating and cooking or whatever it is to do with your eating and sleeping and that kind of a thing. 24 hours spend time with your families. Hey, come on. COVID is a great opportunity to spend time with the family. After 8 months, I'm traveling. My children are already crying. They're like, Appa, don't go tomorrow. They're already because they got so it was a beautiful time to spend time with family. We were complaining about not able to spend time with family, and God has given us this great opportunity during COVID to just spend. So young students, spend time with your parents. Maybe you lost connect with them. Use this time to connect with them again. With your brothers, with your sisters. Use this time. Use this time. Volunteer work. 7 hours. Do something creative, something that will help somebody. Every day, maybe 45 minutes. I'm going to help somebody with it. In helping somebody, you're helping yourself. You are able to make the world a better place. You are able to enjoy this world a little better because we are all people who are not islands, right? No man is an island. We are created for each other. Help somebody every year. And 7 hours, I always call it gift time. You spend God time, but you also spend gift time. What do you mean by gift time? Maybe some of you are artists. Spend 1 hour getting better at your art. Maybe some of you are musicians. Spend 1 hour a day getting better at your guitaring. Maybe some of you are good poets. Spend 45 minutes a day writing a new poem. Maybe some of you are good with words. Spend 45 minutes learning a couple of 3, 4 new words. Use your gift time to improve your gift every hour. And this is how your graph should look like on an average. All right. But when you do your assessment, you will realize that most of the time is going into something else. Okay. It doesn't look like this graph at all. But I would say this is how an ideal, a typical graph should look like. You do your assessment, look at this model, and wherever you need to shift your time, and it'll be very, very helpful. Okay, now that you've heard all of this, how to make more time and things like that, let me ask you, tomorrow, a good definition of tomorrow. Tomorrow is a mystical land where 99% of all human productivity, motivation, and achievement is stored, right? A mystical land where 99% of all human productivity, motivation, and achievement is stored. Okay, now that I told you all of this, when are you going to implement the Pomodoro Principle? Tomorrow. When are you going to try the Pareto Principle? Tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes, right? Now we are at the end of 2020. Just think for a moment, what are the decisions you made when 2020 started? I will go to the gym. January 1st is when you have the maximum gym enrollments, right? You talk to any fitness guy, they will tell you they only hire equipment only for 1 month. Okay. And after 1 month, they sell those equipment because they know that that 1 month is when they get the maximum enrollments. Because tomorrow never comes. We want to decide, but we want to do it tomorrow, not today. Tomorrow never happens. Plato, for those of you who are into philosophy, I don't know, nowadays kids are not much into philosophy, but let me at least share with you what Plato said. Plato said, time is the moving image of the unmoving eternity. Time is the moving image of the unmoving eternity. What is that? Time is the moving image of the unmoving eternity, which means even Plato was acknowledging that there is something called as eternity, a place where there is no time. All right. That's why deep down in your heart, there is something more than just today and just tomorrow and the next 30 years. There is more. There is more to this life than just eating and sleeping and living and dying. You know that. I know that. That's why we have this faint idea of what lies behind, what lies beyond, because there is something beyond time, and that is eternity. And in that eternity is the God who created time. And that is where God is. He's not limited by what we are limited by. He sees yesterday, today, and tomorrow all at once. All at once, one snapshot. He sees it all. But my question is, if that's the case, how do we redeem our time? How do we make more time? How do we make more time? And I would want you to follow those principles of making more time, having your morning ritual, of setting goals, using the Pareto principle, using the Pomodoro principle, reclaiming dead time, saying no to the lesser things so that you can say yes to greater things. And you can utilize your time in a much better format. But before I close, let me tell you one story. Let me close with one story. When I went to engineering college, uh, what's that? 18, 18 years ago, right? 19 years ago, 18, 19. So now you can guess my age, more or less. I went to engineering college. In the first year of engineering college, for those of you who've done engineering, it's a time to just have a great time, right? Engineering, nobody goes to study. At least that's what I believe. People just go to have a nice time. So we were kind of, fooling around and having a great time. And at the end of the first year, a junior of mine came to me and said, Cherry, I want to ask you something. You've got all these talents, you've got all this time. Why are you just fooling around? Why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your time? You know? And then he came and told me a story. He said, I want to ask you one philosophical question. I said, what's that philosophical question? He said, Cherry, which is the richest place on planet Earth? Which is the richest place on planet Earth? And I said, well, should be, maybe the Sheikh's palace or wherever you have all the gold and all of that. And he said, no, that's not the richest place on planet Earth. He said, the richest place on planet Earth is the grave. It's the grave where all the unused time and all the unused talents are buried with hundreds and hundreds of people. And that is the richest place. That is the richest place. All the unused time, the time that people wasted, the talents that people wasted. And then he looked at me and he said, Jerry, don't make the grave a richer place. Don't make the grave a richer place. What is my challenge to you, young people? If God allows, you have a life in front of you. You have a huge opportunity in front of you. My challenge is the same challenge that my junior came and told you. Don't make the grave a richer place. Don't you make it a richer place. And how can you be sure that you won't make the grave a richer place? I talked about the God who created time, right? He lives out of time and he lives out of space. But let me tell you, 2000 years ago, he limited himself into time and into space. And he came to you and me in flesh. You know why? Because he wanted to tell you and me how much he loves us and how much he cares for us. And when we know him, we will know how to use our time so that in eternity we can spend the rest of our lives with him. And that is how precious time is. We can spend the rest of our lives knowing him and the rest of eternity being with him. And that to me is the secret of time. So, young people, my challenge to you, don't make the grave a richer place. Starting tomorrow morning or even tonight, write down your decisions. It's up to you. It's up to you. You can never look at another person and say, hey, that person is more privileged, he's got more time, he's got more money, he's got more this thing. You can never look at another person and say he's got more time. That's the common denominator. It's up to you. Will you redeem the time or will you waste it? And will you go to the grave with all the unused time? Let it be anybody who's next to you. Let them do whatever they want to do. But my challenge to you is you utilize your time. You utilize your time. And how would you know how to use the time? I will tell you. Ask the one who gave you time, and he will tell you how to use your time. And that can be your greatest endeavor, the greatest pursuit in life. God bless you. And now we can open up for questions.
Thank you so much, brother, for your words. Now we are entering into the question and answer session. Uh, if anybody of you've got questions, you could post it on the chat so that we could discuss on the same. Anybody for questions? So, brother, one question we've got. Okay, how do we limit distraction?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is there more to it or just that much?
That's a question.
Okay, how do we limit distraction? That's a very, very good question. I think all the principles that I shared are can be used to limit distraction. The first thing is to set goals. Okay, so you are not going to respond to everything that comes your way. You know where you want to go. You're not going to allow others to dictate your path forward. Okay, so the first thing is to set goals, and the second thing, let me tell you, what is your greatest distraction? Of course, some of you, when you're sitting in the bathroom, you'll get into your wild thoughts and imaginations, and you'll get into those dream worlds, and all those things happen. But today, let's be honest, what is our greatest distraction? This stupid device is the greatest distraction. Let's be honest, right? Not just for you, even for me, this is the greatest distraction. And if you and I can utilize the Pomodoro principle of saying 25 minutes, I'm going to go on airplane mode or even silent mode, your distractions are going to come down by 90%. And of course, if your job is on the phone, you can't do much about it, but you can definitely do that. So start, and it's a habit, right? So let me ask you, when you started driving, for those of you drive, okay, when you started driving, how did you start driving? You were looking like this, left and right, and you were so careful on when you press the clutch and when you put the gear, and you were so careful on how you handle, and is there somebody crossing? But now is how do you drive? You just know it, right? You just know when cars are coming through the side. When the rear view mirror something sparkles, you know something. Why? Because you trained yourself to drive in that environment. How do you handle distraction? You use these principles, and slowly you will start realizing that these are things that are coming to distract you from your main purpose. These are things that are coming to kind of divert your attention, and you will learn. But initially, you have to be extremely strict with yourself. You have to tell yourself 25 minutes. Nothing is going to happen if I don't respond to that tweet. Nothing is going to happen in the next one day if I don't answer or reply to that WhatsApp. Nobody's going to die. Let me tell you, you're not running the country, nor are you running the world. So you don't have to worry about it. So you have to decide, focus on the Pomodoro principle. Pomodoro principle is a fantastic way to bring your attention back to the core thing that you are doing.
We've got another question from David Ratan.
Yeah.
He says, how can we make out between good and great?
Okay.
Since we're looking for greater things in life.
All right. So uh, that's a good question, because sometimes it can be a gray area, right? Because it's nice opportunities that will come and look so shimmering to you. How do I distinguish between the good and the great? First thing that you need to do is take that idea or that whatever is taking your time and put it across your long-term goal and say, does it match with my long-term goal? For example, I'll tell you now. I love to play shuttle, and I play. Why do I play shuttle? I play shuttle mainly because of fitness. Okay, it helps me in my fitness. Now, is it wrong to play shuttle? No. Is it good to play shuttle? Definitely. Now, the past 2 3 weeks, there are a lot of other things that I was supposed to speak like this. So yesterday I was speaking, day before yesterday I was speaking. There were so many of these speaking assignments that I had to do. Now, the question I need to do is, the good thing called shuttle, is it okay for me to play and say no to the other things which are in line with my destiny? So what I need to tell myself is, the next 2 weeks I won't be able to play shuttle. I'm not going to go onto my PS4. Why? Only because it doesn't align with the greater goals of my life. Nothing wrong in play. Okay, when all of that kind of dies down, maybe next week I'll come back and start playing shuttle, maybe 45 minutes or 1 hour a day, just for my fitness. So everything that comes to your life, you need to look at it from your long-term perspective and say, does it align? Does it fit in? Okay. Now, tonight, if my friends are asking me to invite me for a party, I'm not going to just say no to everything. But is it going to help me? Is it so? I ask myself these three questions. Okay. Is it helping me physically? Is it helping me emotionally? And if it's helping me spiritually? If it is going to better me in these three areas, then I would go for it and then look at it if it's going to align with my uh, goals, right? Physically, is it helping me? Emotionally, is it going to drain me or is it going to help me? Spiritually, is it helping me? And then I align it with my long term goals and then decide. But like I told you, the best person to ask this is the one who gave you the time, and he will tell you if this is going to align with your goals or not.
Thank you so much, brother. We've got one more question. The question is, if I'm working for an organization, though I have made some principles and my boss demands me to work for a longer time,
Yeah.
then how can I manage my time?
Yeah.
If my management demands me to work for extra hours?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. Now, we Indians, and especially Indians and Chinese, even Japanese for that matter, to a large, we overwork, right? If we are saying 8 hours is our work day, most of us, including me, we work maybe 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours. Now, how do we manage our manager's expectation? That's the question. Okay, he expects us to work on Sunday. He expects us to work on Saturday. I've got other priorities in life. How do I manage it? Now, the first thing is you need wisdom. Okay. Now you can't go to the manager and say, "Hey, tomorrow onwards, I don't care who you are. I'm going to work 8 hours and I'm going to go home. I don't care." Now the manager is going to try everything possible to chuck you out. Okay, and especially during COVID times, you don't want to try any of those gimmicks. All right, because jobs are difficult to get. Don't try any of those. But what can you do? What can you do? You can be extremely wise. First of all, give what the manager wants. So initially, if he says work for 14 hours, work for 14 hours. Work for 18 hours, work for 18 hours. After 2 3 weeks, you're going to tell the manager, boss, these are the things you asked me to do. I have done it. Can I go home? Okay. And you come to a place where the work is done. The work is done. The reasonable work is done, and you have that ability to stand in front of him and say, hey, I've done your work. Why is it that you are going to push me into this? And once you expect manage the expectation, sooner or later he's going to say, hey, this guy is driving value in spite of the number of hours he's putting. Okay. And once he understands that, then you can go and tell, sir, very politely, sir, I'm able to do the job, I'm delivering it. Please don't have these expectations. I have these priorities in my life and I want to let you know. Okay, so that's something, it's not an easy task. It's not at all an easy task, okay, because there is always the pressure of the boss to subordinate kind of thing that works. But after a while, when your quality of work is, it speaks for itself, you have the credibility to go and tell your boss politely that, sir, these are, for example, I take I have other assignments that I take during the weekend. And now my the people that I work with and my manager knows exactly when I will take the break and why I take the break, and he knows that my work doesn't suffer. The point is, don't do a shoddy job at work and then go and tell him that I'm not going to work for 14 hours or 16 hours. You do good work, productive work, and then politely communicate. And you need wisdom for that, and you need to be very, very smart about it, so that he understands your way of thinking, you understands what he wants, and it comes to some kind of a compromise. Yeah, so there should be a give and take. You cannot give in totally to the manager's expectation, neither can the manager give in totally to your expectation, but that kind of mismatch will always be there. All your colleagues might be working through the night. Most of them will be just going for cigarette breaks and coffee breaks, but you will be working. right? And when you work, do a good job, and then your work will speak for yourself. But initially, don't go and jump the gun. Ensure that you win the confidence of your manager before you go and tell him about the number of hours. I hope that answers the question. Okay.
So he says, if it goes on a continuous basis, and if he'll ask me to resign, then what do I do? Do I resign and switch, or continue with
Okay, so that's a little more specific question. Now, I will tell you in my life story what how things have been. Okay, I worked for 3 4 multinationals. For the last company I worked for was 10 years, and there are times when bosses are unreasonable. We have to be honest. So many times I've cried and said, hey, I worked so long. Why can't they just give me this day off so that I can do what I had committed to my church or whatever it is? And it becomes very tough. But after a while, when you start aligning yourself, sometimes there are only seasons, right? Seasons where you take in that pressure and you don't want to kind of go and slight your boss. You just take those seasons so that you can reap the benefit of the season. But you do it for 6 months, you do it for 1 year, do it for 2 years, and still nothing is changing. Then it might be a good option to start thinking about what can be the alternative for me. Okay, so when in my career, I didn't have a lot of things planned out, but the couple of moves that I did is like, okay, what are my priorities? What are my long-term goals? If this manager is going to stand in the way for long, of course, there are going to be these elements. Immediately, you can't just throw the towel and say it's not working out for me. You have to hold on. There is an area, time, and you have to hold on. Even though managers are unreasonable, you have to hold on. But then, if you're thinking that it's affecting your spiritual life, your emotional well-being, and all that for longer periods of time, you can definitely consider a switch. But especially during COVID time, be careful, because what you need is your job right now. You need to take care of your family. So be wise, think about it, talk to people about it, and then if the switch is needed, take the switch, right? Because the stress that financial insecurity can bring is much more higher than an unreasonable boss. So always have all those kind of things in mind while you make those switches. It's just not one parameter that you need to decide on.
So there's one more question. Uh,
Yeah.
I work from early morning, like about 4 to 4 o'clock till night, 9 o'clock. So I'm working more than 18 hours a day. If I continue with such kind of a profile because of financial crisis, will God punish me for not spending time with Him and with my family?
Okay. So the first problem that you need to address is God is not, standing there with a stick trying to see, okay, now he crossed 18 hours, let me give him a whack. That's not how God operates. God wants the best out of you, and for you to get the best out of what God wants, you cannot work 18 hours a day for continuously all your life. It's just not possible. It's as simple as that. So first of all, don't put yourself under a place of condemnation thinking God is there to punish. If God wants you to enjoy the life He has given you, you better understand that 18 hours is not going to help the cause. That is the point. All right. Every time, even when we talk about the concept of sin and certain things that God doesn't permit, we always think, okay, the moment you do that, God is there with the whack. Of course, there is punishment involved in certain crossing certain boundaries. But the biggest punishment is the violation of God's law, which causes its own consequences in our lives. So if you're going to work 18 hours a day, where is your family going to be in 10 years? Where is your spiritual well-being going to be? Where is your physical well-being going to be in 10 years? There might be, I have worked, okay? I have worked, I don't want to name the company. There's a company, very reputed company. I have done 23 hours, like for 3 to 4 weeks after like, 1 day break for after 6 days. And I have done crazy things. Those are times that you have to hold on. Okay, and you have to do it, and that helps you stretch yourself, and God stretches your tenacity, that next time when pressure comes, you're not going to give in. But if that's going to be the lifestyle, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you. So you need to be wise and say, okay, this is not going to happen for long. If it's just a season, I will do it. Otherwise, if God's plan is also rest, and if you don't build rest into your plan, it's going to be difficult. So don't look at it as God wanting to punish you. Look at it as if that you will miss God's best for your life, because you have these come, and God understands some people need to work much harder than many others because of their financial obligation, and God understands that. You can't just look at somebody who says, I've been wise with my, so now I just need to work 3 hours and the rest of the savings will take care of me. That might be their story. Your story is going to be different. But you look at what is going to work best for you, and God will help you with that. And I can tell you that from my own story. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope the answers are being addressed perfectly to the participants. We've got another question. The pandemic continues for, let's assume the pandemic continues for another 1 year in India. And usually during the pandemic in the last 8 months, we've been working for 12 hours, 13 hours. Now, if this continues, how do I manage time then? Let's assume I'm a part of a ministry. I'm part of a church. I'm doing a lot of activities. Everything gets hampered. So how do I manage my extracurricular activities related to the ministry? How do I manage and my personal life?
See, that is actually not a question about time. Okay. And I would have to do a totally new, different session for me to address it, because at the core of that is not a problem of time. It is a problem of priority. Okay. And that cannot be addressed by saying, okay, I'm going to give 3 hours here, 2 hours there. It cannot be addressed there. It's about addressing the call on your life. And that's a totally different topic. When you know what the call on your life is, it's not about saying, okay, now I have to give 13 hours to God. Now it's about 5 hours I have to do my corporate life. In your work, understand God doesn't look at secular and sacred separately. There is no demarcation for God. Don't think that the work that you do in church is any more sacred than the work that you're doing in your office. That understanding is the biggest crisis that people go through. So you need to understand this. Every ground that you stand on is sacred if you are a child of God. And in that context, you need to start looking at your life and say, hey, it might not be about just dedicating those 5 hours to church. That might not be the best way God wants me to use my time. So don't get into this place of saying, okay, 18 hours I'm doing my work, only I'm able to give 1 hour to God. Oh, this is imbalance. That's not how you need to look at it. Look at the call of God on your life and then rearrange your life. Okay, then it's not about 5 plus 1. Some people say, you're working 18 hours. Are you able to give 30 minutes to God? That's not how it works. You need to give your 24 hours to God. God works like that. And we've got all these equations ulta, right? We've got it all upside down. We think, okay, because I work 10 hours, what is the call on your life? Where is your priority? And that has to be addressed totally separately. Then your life will become a service to God, even if you're a doctor, engineer, lawyer, wherever you are. So that's a different question altogether. But what I want to what I want you to think is, look at your entire life, your entire 24 hours in work, in church, in extracurricular, your family time, your kitchen time, as all service to God. Your life will change.
Thank you so much, sir. We've got the last question, then we wind up with the question answer. The question is, if I list down a task, do I finish the easiest first or the toughest first?
It depends. I always look at the easiest thing that I can finish, okay, so that I can knock it off the list, right? That the list doesn't look long. Sometimes it's about, but things like replying to emails and stuff like that, I keep it for the afternoon time. I don't I That's my personal style. It's different for different people. All the mundane activities, I kind of keep it for the afternoon time or whenever. And those uh, quick immediate things that need immediate attention, not just a WhatsApp message. That's not what I call an immediate attention, but maybe the most important, follow the Pareto principle, right? The most important thing that will give you the best result for the day. Okay. But sometimes you have to do those tasks so that you can get your boss off the back, right? If you just reply to that email, it's done. So you just do it. Okay. So you need to prioritize, depend on it, but use the Pareto principle. What's going to give me the best result for the day? Is it going to be replying to 300 emails or just getting that one project document going? Decide on it and do that. Or if it's just one sales call, right? Sometimes you might be going and traveling around the around Mumbai, meeting 25 guys, but your biggest sale is going to come from one customer. Focus on that one customer and get it done. So it's not about easy or tough, but look at what is going to give you the best result and prioritize that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the questions. Now we move to the announcements. So we are called the Voice of Calvary Ministries, and we have a lot of online events happening. So first of all, we have an event happening on the 5th of December called the Soul Magnets. It's on the screen listed. We have a great speaker called Syed Badshaw who will be sharing the word. So please do remember 5th of December, 9 p.m. we meet on Zoom. We also have a corporate event that's happening on the 26th of December, just after Christmas Day. And we have one of the greatest renowned speaker across the world, Mr. Anand Pillai, who will be talking on putting on a brand. It's more about how do you put a brand on yourself. So we're meeting again on December 26th at 8:30 p.m. Also requesting you, if you've got any prayer requests or testimonies, or if you would like to know more about our ministry and of the upcoming events, please do contact us on 808-264-2739. I repeat, it's 808-264-2739. Thank you. And finally, sir, thank you so much for joining in and sharing your valuable time to us, teaching us. I've attended a lot of time management sessions in corporates, but never got into so much of detailing about how do you manage your sleep, how do you manage put on a task, the Pomodoro technique, the say no, a great learning to all of us. Definitely, I personally will put into practice, and definitely our team who has joined in today will definitely put into practice. And thank you so much for joining us and teaching us. And especially thank you so much for the Voice of Calvary Ministries who organize, and thank you so much, Sir John K. John, for all your efforts in getting great speakers on the Zoom event called the Soul Magnet webinar. And Cherry, sir, thank you so much once again for joining us and
Thank you.
helping us learn so well about time management. Thank you.
Thank you.